Once upon a time, a land not so far away from here, there was a little man named Luigi. Luigi, as we all know, is the younger brother of the incredibly famous, incredibly popular, incredibly stoned plumber Mario. Luigi, though, is the far less appreciated brother, so one day he decided that instead of mushrooms, because mushrooms were obviously getting his brother nowhere in life, he decided, hey, how about apples? And henceforth I will not attempt any accent. So he decided, hey, how about apples? Since apples are healthy, they keep doctors away. Maybe we wouldn't be constantly dealing with Koopas and giant deformed turtle spiny things all of the time if instead of dealing with mushrooms, we dealt with apples. So he decided to get himself some apples. Well, everyone knows that the only way to truly enjoy an apple is to grow it yourself. So he decided, let's plant an apple tree. He might have had a few mushrooms at this point in time. So he goes to the store, buys some apple seed packets, and puts them in the ground. The only problem is that, as we all know, apple trees simply don't grow overnight. So he sat on top of that little mound for a couple days, watering it and feeding it and singing to it sometimes. Strange. And waited until finally it had kind of begun to grow a little bit. Realizing that he was pretty much wasting his time sitting there every day, he decided to just check up on it every so now and then, just kind of let it do its thing until it sprouted some apples. Which meant he was still stuck doing mushrooms in the meantime. And so, while he waited on this tree, and while he stayed inside of the mushroom market, Luigi, he's underappreciated for being the idea man. Mario has what works for him, but Luigi is the idea man. So what Luigi decided was, how about instead of Koopa shells and Bowser's endless offspring, why don't we try branching into Scarab? Because there's a whole lot of lore about Scarabs. There's a whole lot of similarity between Scarabs and Koopas, and he figured, hey, why not? Just to verify, stoned out his mind. So, ventured into Scarabs, realized that there really wasn't all that much in common between Koopas and Scarabs, except the fact that they were all kind of terrifying and incredibly hard to kill. So, deciding that he needed a new hobby while he waited for his apples to grow and waited for the mushrooms to get out of his system, he decided to take up recreational magic. Because why not? So he started, pulling scarves out of sleeves and making rabbits disappear and reappear. No one ever told him exactly how to do that trick, so he just ended up with a lot of dead rabbits on his hands. Well, on the bright side, that was a great way to get away from constantly eating mushrooms, rabbit. Well, as all of this happened, it came spring. He had a neglected tree, he had a failed scarab business, he had a failing magic business, and he decided that his life was just getting too complicated and it was time to stop and smell the flowers. And as he stopped and smelled the flowers, he realized that he actually, with the exception of the fact that he killed his tree, he actually knew a thing or two about plants. He only failed the tree because he got caught up with the scarabs and the magic. He just got distracted. It's not his fault, okay? When he's focused, he could do it. So he decided to take up being one of those landscaping people who looks at things and goes, yes, but you know what would go great here in the middle of this garden? A fountain. So he started doing that and started making more money. Meanwhile, Mario was still stoned out his mind on mushrooms, but Luigi had a pretty good business going with the whole gardening thing. And as he was gardening, Luigi pulled out his 1990 cell phone. He pulled out his 1990 cell phone, which at the time was a car phone. Again. He pulled out his 1990s car phone, came with its own briefcase, pulled out the giant antenna, and he decided he needed to make one call. Because in this situation, there was only one person to call. Because in all of this, he had kind of forgotten that he was in a pretty committed relationship with Daisy. It had only been a couple months
since they had seen each other. He was sure it was all fine. So he calls up Daisy. He's like, Daisy, my love, I have a really great business going. I've got fountains all over the place. Luigi's going to be a renowned garden landscaping person. And she said, sweetie, I'm sorry, but I've moved on. I'm in love with someone else now. You were just taking too much time. So Luigi returned to his lucrative landscaping business and died alone. Oh, except, he did still have his stoned out of his mind brother Mario. They rode it up till the end of time. Unfortunately, Mario died of a mushroom overdose, and Luigi died in some horrific fountain incident. No one could ever really prove the cause of death, but I think we all know that Bowser just let sleeping dogs lie. And that's all she wrote.
That's all she wrote.